In 1487, something happened in the heart of the Aztec Empire that still makes historians argue to this day. Over 4 days, an estimated 20,000 people were sacrificed to dedicate a single temple. 20,000 people. But here's the thing. To the Aztecs, this wasn't cruelty. It was the most logical thing in the world. See, they believed the sun god, Huitzilopochtli, was fighting an eternal battle against darkness every single night. And if he lost, the sun wouldn't rise. The world would end. Game over for everyone. So what kept him fighting? What gave him strength? Human blood, specifically human hearts. In Aztec cosmology, human hearts contained a divine energy called Teolia. This wasn't murder to them, it was keeping the universe running. Now here's where it gets intense. The most common method was heart extraction, and the Aztecs had perfected it into a precise ritual. The victim would be painted with chalk and adorned with paper ornaments. They weren't seen as victims. They were called those who have become gods. They were laid across a curved stone called a tekatl. 4 priests held them down, while a 5th, the one who performed the extraction, raised the obsidian blade, one swift cut beneath the ribs. The heart was removed while still beating. The priest would hold it up to the sun, feeding the god directly. The body would then be rolled down the temple steps, all 114 of them. But wait. Heart extraction wasn't the only method. Let me tell you about the festival of Tlacaxipewalistli. It translates to the flaying of men. This was done to honor Zipe Totec, the god of spring and agricultural renewal. Yes, you heard that right. The god of spring, of new life. The symbolism? Just as seeds shed their outer husk to grow, humans shed their skin for renewal. After the sacrifice, priests would wear the victim's skin for 20 days. They believed they were embodying the god himself, bringing fertility to the land. And then there was gladiatorial sacrifice. This one had a cruel twist. Captive warriors were given weapons to fight for their lives. Sounds fair, right? Here's the catch. Their weapons were made of feathers and wood, completely decorative. Meanwhile, their opponents were elite eagle and jaguar warriors with obsidian-edged clubs. The captive was also tethered to a stone. They couldn't run even if they wanted to. If they somehow won, they'd face another warrior and another until they fell. But where did all these sacrifice victims come from? This is where the Aztecs got really creative. They invented something called the Flower Wars. These weren't wars fought to conquer territory or defeat enemies. They existed purely to capture prisoners for sacrifice. The Aztecs and their enemies actually agreed to meet at specific times and places, like a deadly appointment on the calendar. Young warriors proved themselves by taking captives. The more you captured, the higher you rose. Taking 4, captives made you eligible to become an eagle or jaguar warrior. But taking 0? That was social death. Here's something that might surprise you. Many sacrifice victims went willingly. In Aztec belief, dying as a sacrifice was one of the most honored deaths possible. You'd get to accompany the sun god for 4 years, then be reborn as a hummingbird or butterfly. Compare that to the underworld journey that normal deaths required. 4 years of grueling trials through 9 levels of the underworld. When you frame it that way, sacrifice starts to look like a shortcut to paradise. Now let's talk about the temple dedication in 1487. The ruler Ahuitzotl had just completed a major expansion of Templo Mayor. This wasn't just any temple, it was the center of the universe as the Aztecs understood it. To properly honor the gods for such a structure, they needed something unprecedented. Lines of captives stretched for miles, 4 lines, 4 directions, all converging at the temple. Priests worked in shifts around the clock for 4 days straight. The steps of the temple were said to run red with blood. Some historians think the 20,000 number is exaggerated. Others argue the Aztecs themselves recorded these numbers proudly. They had no reason to lie. Either way, whether it was 4,000 or 20,000, the scale was massive. Here's what's fascinating, though. When the Spanish arrived in 1519, they were horrified by what they saw. They called the Aztecs savages, barbarians, monsters. But here's the thing they conveniently forgot. At that same time in Europe, people were being burned alive at the stake for heresy. Heretics were tortured with racks, thumbscrews, and the Iron Maiden. Public executions were entertainment. Families brought picnic baskets to watch hangings. The difference? Europeans killed in the name of their god. The Aztecs killed to feed theirs. Both believed they were doing the right thing. Both believed they had divine permission. So were the Aztecs uniquely cruel? Or were they just honest about what their religion required? When we judge them by our standards, we forget something important. They genuinely believed the world would end without sacrifice. The sun had already died 4 times before in their mythology. They were living in the 5th and final sun. Every sunrise was proof that their system worked. Every morning, evidence their sacrifices were keeping the apocalypse at bay. It's easy to call them monsters from 700 years in the future. But could you have thought differently if you'd been born into that world? If every authority figure you trusted told you that sacrifice was saving the world? The Aztec Empire ended in 1521, destroyed by Spanish conquest and European diseases. Templo Mayor was torn down. A Catholic cathedral was built in its place. Today you can still visit the ruins. They were rediscovered in 1978 right in the heart of Mexico City. Archaeologists have found thousands of offerings. Skulls, bones, jade, gold, evidence of a civilization that shaped its entire existence around keeping the sun alive. So the next time you watch the sunrise, maybe think about this. For thousands of years, people were absolutely certain they knew why it rose. And they were willing to do anything to make sure it kept happening. The Aztecs just took it further than most, way, way further.